It's March 2nd, March Madness. Time to support your favorite college basketball team. It's also 8:30. It's 57 degrees here in Ventura, California, and sunny, though slightly on the chilly side for some reason, and multiple earthquakes. So yeah, be careful out there. It's Wednesday. It is the first Wednesday of March. It's time to take a look at all the tabletop role-playing game Kickstarter/crowdfunders that are coming to an end. So these are all ones that are coming to an end, which is why I do this, because it's the last chance to support a lot of these. Somebody said, well, why don't you do ones that are beginning? And there's a couple reasons for why I don't do ones that are at the beginning, because they're at the beginning. And two, it's harder to find lists that lists every tabletop role-playing game product that's starting a Kickstarter. But for some reason, it is very easy to find lists of all the tabletop role-playing game products that are coming to an end of the Kickstarter, mostly because, again, they want you to support them and it's the last chance, so it's actually easier to find lists of ones that are ending than ones that are starting. But I'm working on it. I'm working on trying to find a way to do all the tabletop role-playing game product Kickstarters that are starting. If I could just find a way to get like a list of all of them at one time, maybe Kickstarter does that. I don't know. I'm still looking into it. So right now, that is why we do all the Kickstarters that are coming to an end, because it's your last chance to support any of these. So if any of these sound like something you want to pick up, head on down to your friendly local game store and ask them to look into it for you. Of course, I don't have a friendly local game store anymore because Cess Games and Anime here in Ventura closed. But there are high hopes that Dreamworld Collectibles, when they open, will continue to support tabletop role-playing game here in Ventura, much the same way Seth did. So for now, if you're in Northern California, please stop on by North Coast Role-Playing in Eureka, California, and say hi to my dear friend Barry Osser and support that friendly local game store. Meanwhile, this is what's going on in the world of crowdfunding. I knew I would get to the topic eventually. From Hatchlings. That's it. The name of the company is Hatchlings. We have Over Isles. One word, Over Isles. It's an original system. It's $15 is the most popular pledge. Here's a project where you get to roleplay and learn American and British Sign Language. It uses the Inspiral system. It's a fantasy setting using magic formed from sign language. Travel is done via animals that your character horse whisper to using sign language. Parents, if you're looking for a role-playing game for the whole family, how many additional opportunities in life would bring you being able to communicate with a wide range of... I can't read this. So basically, it's a role-playing game about communicating with sign language called Over Isles. So very little, if anything, of it actually has anything to do with traveling to islands. It's mostly a family-based role-playing game about communication. And hey, learn sign language while role-playing? Why not? I mean, it's better than how I learned sign language. From Exalted Funeral, we have the Old School Essentials Fantasy RPG box set. This is the Old School Essentials core rule set. Most popular pledge is $100. It is everything you need to play Old School Essentials. 2 box sets that give you all the content you could want for your OSE. In the classic game set, you have all the 5 books containing the rules, character classes, spells, and monsters. And then the advanced expansion set, you have 4 more books with more character classes, monsters, spells, etc. So if you want to embrace all the wackiness of every aspect of first edition and maybe a little second edition, this is the way to do it for $100. Old School Essentials box set. Yes, Old School Essentials has been out for a while. Yes, you could pick up all these individually, but some of them are out of print, and this is the way to get them all again with brand new art, rules revised, play tested, editing, and of course, all in one set. From Crucible Magazine, we have Crucible Magazine. This is a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition magazine. $80 is the most popular pledge. It's a new offspring for the gaming table, featuring 5e content, industry interviews, and comics, plus downloadable files. And it's $80. $80 for a magazine. $80 for a magazine. I mean, have you looked at the price of People magazine lately in the supermarket? $80 is not that unreasonable. I mean, those things are getting pretty expensive. But $80 for one magazine? I mean, I would understand $80 for a year-long subscription. But one magazine? From Galaxy's Edge, we have Forgotten Ruin, the role-playing game. This is an OSR role-playing game. It's $35. It's the most popular pledge. Based upon the Forgotten Ruin novels by Jason Anispatch and Nick Cole. This is fantasy monsters versus time-traveling U.S. Army Rangers. So, yeah, okay. Monsters versus military. Steins Gate, I guess, uses OSR, Swords and Wizardry. I don't know, a fantasy post-apocalypse sort of risks, kind of, but it's fun and a little bit more low-tech. Yeah, maybe. I like the idea. From Night Angel, spelled Nach Angel, Nichangell, which I think is Night Angel, but German, maybe? We have Colostal, the Roomlands. Colostal. Sounds a lot like colostomy. Yeah. I don't know if that's the best word name. The Roomlands. R-O-O-M. Room, not R-U-N-E. Rune. This is a original systems, $20 the most popular pledge. It's a solo RPG journaling game that lets you expand upon the initial Colostal with new classes and new rooms to explore in a world held within a castle, vast environments waiting to explore. You role play through it and you keep a journal, and it's $20. Or you could go to the 99-cent store and get a journal and do the exact same thing. From Bloke Games, we have Overworld, a tabletop RPG monster manual zine. This is for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, Survive This, and Super Neutral. It's $15 is the most popular pledge. It's Bloke Games. It's an RPG which sort of has homage to Legends of Zelda type games that allows you to bring role-playing games, video games to your table using the Survive This system or RPG 5e. I mean, if there's anything that 5e might help embrace, it's probably video games like Zelda. So for $15, Bloke Game stuff is usually good. And we got a couple more that we're hiding. From Skeeter Green Productions, we have the Valley Out of Time series for Savage Worlds, Sword and Wizardry, Dungeon Crawl Classic, and Mutant Crawl Classics. Wow, that's a wide variety. This is a Gonzo dinosaur adventure for Dungeon Crawl Classic, Mutant Crawl Classics, and Swords and Wizardry. Did I say Savage Worlds? I didn't mean to make Savage Worlds, sorry. It's not Savage Worlds, ignore that part. It's just Dungeon Crawl Classic, Mutant Crawl Classic, and Swords and Wizardry. Inspired by Frank Frazetta's The Land That Time Forgot, this is an adventure module. $18 is the most popular pledge. Create Gonzo dinosaur adventures for Dungeon Crawl Classic. Nothing says Dungeon Crawl Classic like Gonzo dinosaur adventures, so yeah, support that. And if you ever have any questions about Dungeon Crawl Classics, check out my buddy Arron the Pendantic. He is the guy to talk to. From the Majestic Goose Network, we are trying to kickstart the GooseCon 2022. This is $150 to sponsor the con. It's a convention that's trying to get set up in Cincinnati, Ohio for September. So it's a tabletop role-playing game conventions. You're kickstarting it, hoping that they will get enough money to actually have the convention and have a gaming convention at the Duck Convention Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. So I guess that's why they're calling it GooseCon, because the name of the convention center is DuckCon. Yeah, I always like to see something like this. Here's a chance if you live in Cincinnati and you want a role-playing game convention in your hometown using the Duck Convention Center. Sorry, I'm very nasally today, so some of those words are coming out wrong. You could kickstart/sponsor it and get a whole bunch of stuff for sponsoring it. And of course, your name would be in the table of contents and everything. So that's everything that is being crowdfunded this week that's coming to an end. Obviously, my number one recommendation would be either the Old School Essentials box set, or I guess maybe the Valley Out of Time series for Dungeon Crawl Classics. As for the rest, over aisles, I like the idea of a role-playing game that helps you learn sign language, ASL. Probably would have been better as just, a source book for another role-playing game instead of trying to make your own role-playing game, but whatever. Good idea. $15, reasonable. $80 for Crucible Magazine. No. Forgotten Ruin, the role-playing game using Swords and Wizardry / stuff. Could have been a source book. Coastal the Room Lands, $20 for a journal. Literally, whenever I see these journal games, I'm like, just go to the 99-cent store, get a 100-page 3-ring binder notebook for 99 cents, and then just download the SRD for the game for free. Bloat Games, Overworld, Legend of Zelda for Survive This or 5e. I mean, yeah, Legend of Zelda sounds like the perfect thing for 5e, so sure, yeah. Dungeon Crawl Classic, Valley Out of Time, of course, that one. Supporting GooseCon, yeah, if you live in Cincinnati, support that. But my tip of the hat for this week's got to go to the Old School Essentials box set. Though I do like the idea of the game that teaches you ASL, but, that could have just been a source book. And Forgotten Ruin could have been a source book or a zine, similar to how Overworld is, $10 zine. Here's an expansion to an existing rule set to do blah. So there we go. That's my usual snarky comments on everything that's coming out this week. If you appreciate my snarky comments, let me know. If you think I should just keep my mouth shut and my opinions to myself and just talk about the news, let me know. Please consider supporting me. Help me hit 1,000 subs by August 4th, 2020. And of course, if you're feeling generous, there are plenty of ways to support the OGGM adventures, all of which are appreciated. And yes, I will sell out if there is, and shill myself for a dime. If any of these tabletop role-playing game crowdfunding projects sound like something you want to support, head on down to your friendly local game store. That's North Coast Role-Playing in Eureka, California. And as always, I have been your guide to all the tabletop role-playing game news, weather, sports, general internet nonsense, the OGGM. So until next time, get out of my damn essentials, you crazy old school, and support Arron the Pendantic.